Ready, ready? Why are you smiling at me? It makes me nervous. You're nice. Lie down. You can lie down. But have a piece of paper and a pen next to you. Oh, anybody? We got any spare paper or pen? Okay, have you got a really like a? No. That's right. Yeah. No, so this is different. But if you've got a mind like a steel trap and you can hold on to your thoughts, you don't need the pen and paper. Sorry? Writing. We might do some drawing next week. But lie down. But lie down. Please lie down. No buts about it. I think this is going to be exciting and it's not. I think I'm going to get them to do something naughty. So you're lying down. Lying down is going to, you're going to recreate some of your history. That's not as exciting as it sounds either. I'm making this up to be something really, it's nothing. So, now remember this morning we talked about the ingredients for an effective ATM. So we could actually have a long discussion about, you know, what adjective to use for, you know, a good ATM or a meaningful ATM or an impactful ATM or effective ATM, successful ATM, all these sorts of things. So let's just say we have those sorts of descriptors. But what I would like you to try and recall now is when you've experienced a cracker of an ATM. I've changed my mind, France. It's going to be a cracker. Now, what did that mean for you? What was the cracker ATM? So I would imagine that it's because it had some kind of impact on you, had meaning for you, it influenced you, maybe you felt that something in you changed or whatever that is. So you've had this positive experience with an ATM. And I would like you can recapitulate that in your mind, you can redo some of the movements, whatever you need to do to invoke that memory, and then come up with at least 3 ingredients that you think were present in that ATM that contributed to you having that kind of experience. Is that clear? Is my mic working?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Hands up if it's clear. Hands down. Any questions? In other words, I could have just done that, would be easier. Yes. Oh, so I'm just get. So Karen, where are you from, Karen? Toll.
Sorry?
It's Toll.
Yeah,
Toll.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Genau.
Oh, can you do that for all the languages?
Yeah. No. You can try me. I can make it up.
Write it down now.
Yes. When you're ready, write it down. That's why a piece of paper. So that's why if you've got to Yeah. If you, but as you set up, Deb, you've got to do this. No. Oh, question over here. Yes.
What were we writing down?
The 3 key ingredients you think contributed to that being a cracker ATM for you. Okay, so this is from the perspective of the student, where we're tapping into your student experience about what the ingredients are for a really good ATM. Life-changing, you know, nothing big, just life-changing. Holy moly, that's quite a piece of apparatus, isn't it? Oh, I see. It's not meant to turn. Right. That's just their reminders, which would be quite nice to keep. We don't. We can't could plug it in. Couldn't we? Yeah. Let's do that. Is that a PowerPoint there? I'm just making a lot of noise. We're just trying to work out. It's a fancy one. It's a fancy one. No, because we want to keep this because that's their reminders. Yeah. Does he know someone who's organised when they've got a spare extension cord? No. No, Jenny, I don't. All right. Oh, he's still writing? Lying back to have a snoozle. Yeah, me too. That's why I got you to lie down so you can remember. So lie down again, and now you're going to think of just close your eyes and imagine back to an ATM, which was the opposite, where it was like a dud ATM for you. This is yeah, I'm trying to think of what I read. That's not really rude in German. Scheiße, Quatsch. It's just Quatsch. And what were the three things? Maybe you can't think of three things, but what was it that really it did not work for you? Now, and I've purposely not given you any examples, but you can be very free-ranging. It could be something you just didn't like the presenter, for example. But then think, what was it? Was it the tone of voice? Was it the pace? Or was it the content of the ATM? Was it too big, too small, too fast, too slow, really think broadly about what are these ingredients for success and what could be contributors to something not working. But again, remember, this is the student perspective. So it might not be that the ATM itself or the teacher were duds. You might have to take responsibility for it. But for you, it's your experience. And this is important because as ATM teachers, you're going to have students who are going to find you a dud. You just have to live with that. Some of us have to live with that more frequently than others. Not us, clearly, but we were talking about that at lunch. Bloopers, Bloopers. Yeah. We'll talk about that towards the end of the week. And again, if you need to stop and think about lie down and remember, really, what was it? You might have a thing like I hate flexion lessons. Now this is, the things that you find really difficult, this is very, very interesting. Just for you as a personal growth thing, but we could get them to put this up on butcher's paper and then we could summarise it. Do we love the smell of textures in the morning? Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Then I can go and brush my teeth.
You want me to write that down or you want Jenny to write that down?
Oh, that's all right. I should remember. And I'll get them to do it. And maybe they do it in groups of 5. Oh, yeah. That's what they spontaneously did this morning. Might as well go with your organic thing. Okay, so you can see where this is heading. We're now going to get into small groups and pull your ideas, because what's going to come out of this is the checklist that's relevant to this group. I mean, and I've got Julie's checklist, so I can add to it. But this way we get a checklist that comes out of your student experience. And most of you now have done a lot of ATMs, so you've got a lot of experience. So in a way, your student experience is going to inform your teacher development, right? So be prepared. So it's make, we'll put it on the butcher's paper in groups of 5. So yeah, start off with the positives, and then so the negatives can be, you can put them on a separate sheet, and you can actually reframe them as what that would mean to do in a positive, what to not do in a way, depending on what they are. Right, so we'll start off with the features of a good. Yeah. Any group. One at the back. Yeah, and then we'll need a. Or it's netball, like that. I played softball, so I would do that. Now, I have got Julie's ideas, as I said, but we'll just see what comes out of your ideas. So Julie's are obviously now from the perspective of the expert, right, the teacher. These ideas are coming from the experience of the expert student, right? So they should match up.
Am I the thrower?
Yes.
Okay.
I've noticed you're quite accurate. So who wants to go first? We'll do the positives today, and then we're going to take this away and turn it into a little checklist, or we can just leave. It depends whether it maps out in a way that makes sense, or whether it looks a bit like a
Positives?
dog
want the
spread. It's
positives?
just positives. Yeah. So
Okay.
who wants to go first to the group?
Oh my
Up the
God.
back.
Okay. We need a relay team here. You'll have to.
Very good. Okay.
I just thought I'd start because I was getting a bit tired. So
Yeah. I tell you, Sunday, 3 o'clock, it's Ziz time in my
Yeah.
calendar. But
nap
anyway,
time.
Ziz time.
Okay, these are the pos.
Yep.
Variations. I'm just going to read them verbatim. Variations in instructions enabled me to explore movements otherwise couldn't.
All right, so in there are variations. Okay, we'll write down the word variations. Sorry. Yep.
I think the other thing was that the things that you couldn't do was
Instructions enabled me to explore movements that otherwise couldn't.
So these are alternatives, aren't they?
Mm.
Yep.
Finding distinctions in sensation.
God, you're all getting into the bloody Feldy jargon already, aren't you? You do know that you say this outside this room and people go, what? Right, so, sorry, I didn't mean to have a go at you, Dan. So finding distinctions in...
Finding distinctions in sensation. So that was to do with the flow of air in and out or something like that. I can't remember. Good pacing.
Uh-huh.
Started out difficult and became easier at the end of the lesson. The language, like the actual words used, related to me, finding more of the movement.
What was that second one?
Enabling us to find more of the movement through the actual words used, like a synonym or...
Yep. Okay, so metaphor as well.
Mm. I didn't write that one down, but that's a good one. Yeah.
Yep.
Clarity of instructions used.
Yep.
Learning can be carried out to other movements.
Transferable.
What was that one? Yeah.
So I don't mean if I'm translating it incorrectly. Okay. Yep.
Personal breakthrough.
Yep.
Learn different movement patterns.
Yep.
Getting to a movement with psychological and physical pleasure.
Pleasure.
It's important.
Yep.
Instructors' adaptability to the audience. Keep others on track. So like, you know, if someone walks in late or, you know, you can adapt to... Yeah.
So you mean like, so adaptable to audience, so latecomers and sleepers, is that thing?
I think that's what is that what it was? Yeah.
Yep.
That's it for pause.
Good. Very good. I'm trying to clump them a little bit. And if I paraphrase you incorrectly, tell me. Just, okay. Yeah? Your group want to talk?
Yep.
So we need the passing of the box.
Okay.
It could just be that you throw it up in the air and whoever catches it.
Oh, Sue. Rugby league.
Oh. Rugby pass.
Okay, we had some the same, obviously. So our first different one was that it was, the ATM was achievable. It was seen to be something that could be done. And along with the pleasure, we had some words like fun and delicious. That's, you know.
Actually, I'm going to put achievable up there.
Okay, and then we had
It doesn't mean anything.
maintains curiosity and surprise. And you've got one up there about different, unknown, new awareness. It was different, it was unknown, and it brought new awareness. And then it was a childlike sort of freedom, reconnection to early learning sense. And then it starts small and develops into something that involves the whole of self. Someone else throw this. Can you throw this back?
We finish it.
I think we've got, I'll just read them out, but a lot you've got
Can
there.
you say your name? I thought I might start learning names now. Because I
Fiona.
know Sue and I know Dan and I don't know you.
Fiona.
Fiona. Fiona's
Clear.
funny. It's my mnemonic. Fiona's funny. See, look at her. She's laughing with it.
I'll probably disappoint on that part. Yeah.
Fiona's funny. Brackets, ironic.
Yes.
I don't know.
That
I don't know.
works.
Your face smiles easily. I'm going to stick with funny.
Okay. Clear instruction that helps you to follow the movements. Good timing and flow. Feeling distinctions, which I think is there. Curiosity created through sense of trying to solve a puzzle. The occasional touch from the instructor when required. Richness of variation and having a balance of the variations.
I've got variations. They're variations.
I think you have.
Oh no, it's not just variation in instruction, but variation of movements. Do you mean?
I think this other one's up there. I can't see that far, but varying language to describe the same movement. So using different words to describe the same thing, so that you don't have that repetitiveness. Tone of voice. And the last one is a good amount of rest.
Oh, right. Okay. Very good. Rests. Good amount of rests. Yeah, very important. Not far.
I think most of the ones that we had are up there already.
Probably good to say them again because I'm quite interested in how many times, if I could turn this into a word cloud,
Yep.
Some of the words, when I was going around, I could see some would be really common, like this one, it's almost like that's clear. Clarity is the sort of thing. Anyway, yep.
So clear instructions, enough repetition.
Beg your pardon?
Enough repetition
Okay, oh, good.
of instructions.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
Tone of voice.
Yep.
Timing.
Yep.
Humour.
Oh, who knew?
Flow of sequence of the ATM, so the progression.
Have I got flow?
Variation.
Oh, flow. Yep. Okay.
Variations that allow creativity.
Yes, variations. Yep, that's here.
Able to sense pleasure.
Pleasure, yep.
Easy sense of whole self, able to both differentiate and integrate.
Very good. Yep, that's on this theme. Differentiated.
We've read the book.
What's funny?
It's the
Oh,
jar.
yeah.
Rests and rescanning.
Yep. Well, then that presupposes scanning, doesn't it?
Novelty, an element of surprise or a wow factor.
Surprise is there. Novelty we'll write down again. Just to be novel.
Create muscle tonus recalibration. That was the intellectual amongst us.
Yep.
The aha moment when the elusive becomes obvious. Reminders about breathing.
Yep.
Good images and relevant stories.
think the emphasis on relevant. Stories and relevant. I think I got the wrong way. You had images, didn't you?
And we had one in the room for improvement section, which was also we thought could move into the good, which is about environment not being too cold or too hot.
Ah, very good. Yeah. Okay.
Too noisy.
Yeah.
We had discovery and novelty.
What was the first one? Discovery.
Discovery.
Yep.
Novelty, fun,
Have
freedom.
I written discovery? No. Novelty. Yep. And
Fun.
Yes.
yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Freedom. Freedom.
Freedom.
Mm.
I'm quite deaf with some tones.
Okay.
Freedom. Rings of childlike, free, early learning.
Ease.
Yes, difficult to easy. We'll put ease again.
Curiosity.
Yep.
Comfort. A tone of voice that was soothing or evoked curiosity. Clear instructions in the right pace.
Everybody likes those. Yeah.
And using questions that led to a sense of progression and pleasure. You guys, you're done?
I'll leave it. Questions lead to progress, and we've got pleasure up there. Yeah. Yep. Okay. I shouldn't be able to see the orange from here, shouldn't I? What's your name?
I'm Ginny.
Genie, out of a bottle.
Kind of. Yeah. I get that all the time.
Are you getting my mnemonic sequence here? Fiona's funny. Genie's out of a bottle.
We had continuous and genuine focus.
Ah. Is that from the teacher or the lesson? Continuous.
Just evoked that sort of sense in the participant.
Yeah, it could be.
And can also be of the presenter as well, I guess. Yeah.
It might actually be on that side as well.
Light bulb moments.
That's the aha.
Mm-hmm. A balance of being challenged versus achievement.
Very good. Okay. Yep. Whoa. Yep.
Not confused.
As opposed to clear.
Yep.
Yeah.
A resolution, so at the end of things sort of coming together.
Very good.
Fun, curiosity, impossible at the start, easy at the end. A notable change at the end of the lesson, being able to sense the difference. Learning something about yourself. Visualizing.
Visualizing, yep.
Yep. The energy in the room, the sense of the communal wavelengths. And we also had environment and adaptability.
Adaptability of the teacher?
Yeah.
To people?
Yeah. Reading the room.
Like what we were talking about with you.
Sorry?
Like
oh,
what
yes.
we were talking about.
Yeah. That was your group.
That's our group.
Are we all done? Okay. So what I'll go away and think about with these and try and group them into something that's sort of checklist-like. What I've tried to do just on listening to them on first pass, this side is sort of this is presenter skills, if you like. So this is what you as teachers have to pay attention to in terms of your actual mechanics of delivery. Yeah. So what Julie's called here self-use presentation skills. So these are the things you have to think about acquiring if you haven't already got them. Then there's a little section up here around sort of the mechanics of where you're going to teach. And I know you'll discuss this more in Jenny's stuff around, you know, when you're setting up classes and thinking about the environment and thinking about, you know, having the right floor, the right kind of light. You know, we're talking with Ella about, you know, from an architectural, from a, you know, human use, human interface point of view, you know, if you can have windows or greenery or, you know, those sorts of environmental things can help. Clearly not here, but that's a, we've got green carpet. Yeah, sometimes there's green mould in here, it's fine. No, there's not. And then the culture in the room is sort of, it's not a pragmatic issue, it's not a geographic issue, but it's something that you have to think about as a teacher is how you're going to create that class culture, the group culture. Maybe that's something that Jenny can talk about at some point, you know, from your background. And then you have to create that culture with different groups, different cultures. And then on this side, this is a bit of a mishmash. I have to think about these. So some of these are actually the characteristics of the, you know, they're sort of the flavour, if you like, of the lesson. And others are actual components. So some of the intangibles, and some are that have to be there, like rests. You know, that's the actual structural thing that you have to have in there. Variations in movement you have to have in there. And what you're trying to evoke is pleasure and ease and so on. Then there's these sorts of strategy, you know, the structure of the lesson will be that you'll start off, it may be that you'll start off with something that's seemingly impossible and then it becomes possible through being, you know, via difficulty and ease. This is something that you have to take care of, you know, comfort. So some of these are sort of rules that you have to establish. The rule about ease. These are, you know, that you have to establish these rules. So when you teach a class for the first time, you have to say, these are the principles. These are the rules that we're going to stick by. We're going to agree in this class, we don't over effort. You know, we define sort of effort, that you work with this view of going towards what feels pleasurable, what feels fun, what feels easy, as opposed to the rules that are set up in their cross-training class where the rules are, you will sweat, you will take steroids, no, that's just a joke, you will work your buns off. You know, you have to work hard and you have to work to the point of grunting, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to set up the rules because otherwise they don't know the difference. Or, you know, like a yoga class has to set up those rules. You hold this pose. That's the rule. Whereas we don't hold poses. We move through them. You set up the rules. And what our sorting principles are for. The structural thing, variations in instruction. So these are sort of, you know, Julie's talked about these as learning strategies. It's also, but it's a skill of the presenter as well in the use of language, right? That you can say, lift up your arm, but if they don't know what lift up your arm means, you can say, could you please lower your body relative to your arm? That would be unusual, wouldn't it? But you know what I mean? You can say something in a different way. So some of these will turn into practical exercises this in the next 2 weeks, so you actually practice that. What's another way of saying such and such? You know, you would do that in small groups. you know, the use of metaphors and stuff. I mean, these are skills. Some of you will do it. Oh, yes, Simon, did you coach them to put their body between?
Well, apparently they're using what I said earlier.
Oh.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. And again, these are strategies you're going to use, like this distinction in sensation. So that's going to have to be drawn out of people. They won't do that spontaneously because they won't. 2 years ago, did you know what that meant? No, I'll take that as a no. And this balance between achievement versus challenge. So as a teacher, you have to watch the class. And when 2/3 of the people are achieving, then you introduce the next challenge. So when do you do that? Or when do you stay with the same thing that nobody's achieving? And when do you move on? You know what I mean? So this is the decisions that you're making. But they both have to be there, that kind of idea of mastery. And how do you set up the environment where not achieving is perfectly fine? Because that's what we have to do all the time. And that's running incredibly counter to culture. There's almost nothing I can think of that's more counter to our culture than making that failing is great. Can you? I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Well, this is our culture is all about success. This is the Donald Trump thing. Failure is not to be tolerated. We will succeed even if we're dickheads. And failure is not to be tolerated. Whereas we're saying in here, failure, that's fantastic. That's really interesting. So how do you set that up in your environment? Yes.
I was just thinking maybe one thing that's similar to that is wabi-sabi imperfection in Japanese culture.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's actually beautiful if something's imperfect.
Is that right?
Yeah, and if there's a broken vase, I saw recently they'll put gold in it, in the crack, to sort of celebrate.
Oh, the imperfection. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because you do get this idea that Japanese culture is perfect. Like, the sort of, the aesthetic is perfection. But how interesting.
Yeah.
That's why some of their food is so horrible. So, yeah, okay. We did this great walking holiday in Japan, not last year, the year before, and I called it the tyranny of the small dish. Has anyone ever travelled, like even a lot, very traditional, especially we were in the Southern Islands, and it's just these endless small dishes full of, like, I don't know what, like little chopped up bits of ear, rubber, different variations on the theme of rubber. That's what I decided it was. Sorry, that was very imperfect. But we did meet this guy who one of the ryokans we stayed in. He was both a monk and a soba noodle maker. He spent 3 years learning how to make soba noodles. That's perfection. It's 3 years. It's amazing. Anyway, I transgress. Other qualities that you need in your lesson. So novelty. So we talked about this. We had a good discussion with the group up the back about when movements can feel ridiculous. When you do something and you think, this feels ridiculous. This is a ridiculous movement. So as a teacher, how you deal with that. And we were talking about that with the group up there. They are ridiculous. And do you know why? Why are they ridiculous? Why are some of the movements ridiculous? Exactly. They're non-habitual. They will shock people. They can be so silly that they'll shock people out of a habit. Or they might be just benignly novel. So they're not ridiculous, but they're just novel, unusual. Because then you cannot use your old strategies. You have to do something different because they are. Whereas if we just practice walking is so habitual, it's very hard to change. So it's actually easier to learn something when it's completely off, completely new. In that sense. Yeah, go for it.
I think sometimes when they are so ridiculous, it can be really embarrassing for the participants, and they'll laugh. And
Right.
I've had that awkward situation, other people probably have too, where they're laughing, but you find it pretty hard to laugh because you kind of know
Yeah.
what it's all about. So there's a little bit of awkwardness that can come out of that.
Yes.
I think, and handling that can be tricky.
So these are the things that might come up as negatives that we'll deal with around. See, they're learning, they're applying your rules. That we can come up with what you'll use as teaching strategies to overcome that response. What else have we got? So these tricks that we use, where we will sometimes we'll start off with a small movement and build it up to a big movement, like, a small knee lift that builds up into a roll. Other times we might try the big movement and then we'll go back and differentiate it. So these are all parts of the strategies that are inherent in any lesson that we will use. And actually, to be honest, they're inherent in an FI as well. So we'll structure those around. What else have we got there? So the ridiculous and the absurd movements are part of the surprise stuff. Like, they do take you out of your comfort zone, which is a good thing, up to a point. But they can't be so ridiculous that they make people feel uncomfortable or going to walk out or offended. So we don't, funnily enough, I've never taught sucking lessons to a public workshop. Why would you? Unless you knew them really well, like really well. Then, of course, you can do what you like if you know people really well, but you wouldn't do that. Did you do the sucking lessons first up here? And then we do it for a reason. It is shocking, but it's also the first thing we learn how to do, apart from swimming around in tummies like yours is swimming. Other qualities, so this idea of childlike, this is really important because a lot of our learning strategies are based on what's called perceptual learning, which is what children do. They just explore for the sake of exploring, and they're not goal-directed. And it's perfectly legitimate. It's called perceptual learning. It's a different style of learning that adults fall out of the habit of. So that's really important. Just like the sense the humour is important. The variations in instructions. So I've written it, you'll see it in both places. So here's the variation in language, and the variation in instruction over there is where there's an alternate way to do the movement. So you give somebody an alternate. Does that make sense? Alternatives, richness and variation of moves, which you've said, that allows creativity, the different movement patterns, this sense of having a breakthrough, this kind of outcome of recalibrating muscle tone. So these are all important responses that you need to know, because sometimes you'll need to just suggest that this is what might be happening. You kind of have to, as a teacher, you might have to feed forward into the student. You could say, well, that's just, mind washing. But actually, from a neuroscience point of view, it's called feed forward, and it's very important. Or, NLP people will call it future pacing. But people don't know what they don't know. They don't know what to notice. If they've never felt something different before, you might have to, say. You might not know what that pink thing is in the room, but it's an elephant. Have a look. Other structural things, so the scan and the rescan. So these are really important, right? And this morning, for most people, that was the most important part of the lesson, in a way. Yes? Otherwise, you would think that was a ridiculous lesson. Wouldn't you? I mean, I would think that that's a really dumb, people would find that lesson really stupid unless you linked it to a change in the person, how they felt in their body. Yes? I'm not getting convincing nods there, so maybe I didn't quite convince you this morning. Oops. Oh, okay. Oh, it's not lack of agreement. And that aha moment, the light bulb moment, this elusive, obvious idea, again, these are things you need to acknowledge people, because you can't feed forward an aha moment. You can't, because then it's no longer an aha moment, because they're ready, you've primed them for it. Now, this to me is the most exciting thing about ATM and why I love it above and beyond all else, because nobody can take that aha moment away from you as an individual You've laid on the floor, you've had that all by yourself, and it's yours. Now, if you're working with a client group who are vulnerable, fragile, think that they're useless, or they're in pain, or they're, they've failed at whatever, because they've got this illness or this injury or this problem, and they get an aha moment, what that does for your sense of self is really extraordinary. So as a teacher, you can acknowledge that and help them use that experience to start rethinking their self-image. And that's, I'm not stating it too strongly. This is the, to my mind, that the thing that ATM offers that very few other things offer is that people can discover for themselves. And in a world, especially if you're going to work in the health system, where everything, all the power and all the discovery is sitting on the side of the expert, we're offering something where the person lies on the floor and figures it out for themselves. Now that is an extraordinary thing that we're offering people. So as a teacher, that's what you have to really honour and help people recognise that that's what they've achieved on the floor, because they won't get it anywhere else. Everywhere else they'll go, oh yeah, I've got a great teacher, I've got a great master, it's all, la la la, that's fine, they're all great methods, or, I've got a great doctor, I've got a great nurse. Physio's a bit shit. No, just joking. I can make jokes about physios. No one else can, because they're my family. Now, does that make sense though? That these qualities, if you don't subscribe to these qualities and treasure when your clients experience them, you've missed the opportunity, and it's just going to be another yoga class or another Zumba or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with yoga or Zumba, they're great, but this is what makes us us. Do you agree? Okay, you're looking a bit Zumba. Yes, 10-minute tea break, and then we'll have an ATM to finish. Right, we'll pull this together into something, and then tomorrow or the next day, we'll put these over here so that they can cogitate somewhere.
Variation in speed.
Yeah. I think the variation in tone as well. Yeah, both tone and speed. Yeah. Right. Okay, I will write that. Can you print it? Oh, yeah. Okay. You're saying, oh, yeah, because your house is in Geelong now.
No, so I want to get to 10 city.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not.
Oh, no, that's a fact.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
Don't want to, but yeah.
Yeah, no
That was
worries.
so good.
No worries. Very good.
Thank you.
Oh, we've got
So
half
that
of
just
it.
prints off there. How clever. Isn't it? For goodness sake. Goodness gracious. Magic.
Magic.